I think it's the same reason I'm drawn to romantasy. Like, I secretly, like, a tiny piece of me always hopes that someday someone will be like, you're a secret princess and you just have never known.
Yeah.
And I'm a realist in so many areas of my life, but I think there's always a small part of me that wants to believe that there's like a teeny tiny bit of magic in this universe.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Off the Shelf. Today I'm sitting down with our Canadian rom-com author who brought us primetime romance and Kitty St. Clair's Last Dance. Kate Robb, welcome to Off the Shelf.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in. I have to ask you, I just recently found out you're from Hamilton.
I am.
I'm also from Hamilton. What is your favorite underrated spot in the city?
See, the problem is my favorite underrated spot got TikTok famous and it's not underrated anymore. And it's now next to impossible to get in. And it's My Pie on Barton.
Oh, the pizza spot.
It's a pizza spot. They do like deep dish pizza.
Okay, so I've never been, but it is worth the hype that I see it gets.
It's a tiki bar. So like it's like you walk in and it's just so kitschy inside. Like it's you know, it's like its own little spot. There's nothing around it. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere on Barton. But they have like the big tropical cocktails and like it's just fun inside. We sat there's a booth that's like all birds called the bird booth. And like there's just stuffed birds all around you. So
oh my God, I have to go.
Yeah.
Do you ever miss living in Hamilton?
I spend a lot of time in Hamilton because I love the food scene in Hamilton. And I feel like all of the Toronto chefs who couldn't afford the rent in Toronto all moved to Hamilton. And so the food is just way better. Like it's the best food you can get in this area.
People were like, Hamilton this, Hamilton. I was like, no, like you haven't eaten here.
Yeah.
You haven't eaten down on like James Street North, but like we have great food.
Yeah. Yeah. This Spells Love, actually, I set on James Street North. So it's the two love interests in the book are both shop owners. One owns like a clean beauty store and one owns like a custom sneaker store. And they both have spots on James Street. So I was like, I would go down to James Street just for inspiration and just as an excuse to eat. But like, I love that area.
And it's also like, it's getting better. Like I know there are some sketchy areas, but it's popping now.
It is. When I sold the book, there was a couple of editors that were interested, and one of them, I guess her dad grew up in Hamilton, and I mean, she's been in New York forever, has visited Hamilton with family and stuff. She's like, has it? Like, she's like, that's not the Hamilton I remember. Whoa. And I was like, it's changed a lot.
It's really, really changed.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, My Pie, I'm adding to my list.
Yes.
I'm going to hear so much about it. I know I went TikTok famous and everything. So I want to talk about like your early writing career and everything. And I know that you have described yourself as a reader growing up, not a writer. What were you reading?
The Babysitter's Club was probably my first love. Babysitter's Club, and I inherited an old set of like original Nancy Drews that I made my way through. But yeah, I could take down like a Babysitter's Super Special in a weekend easily. I think I went through the very millennial phases of like Sweet Valley High, Boxcar Children. I was pretty stereotypical. I also loved, there's a writer called Sherwood Smith, and she writes this fantasy series. And if I ever come across somebody who's got a daughter in particular who's like a fantasy lover and 11 or 12, there's a series called Run to the Rescue and then a duel book called Crown Duel. And they are like the perfect fantasies, in my opinion.
Are they young adult or adult?
They are young adult, but like very young adult.
Okay.
Like true young adults. You could give it to a 12-year-old and, feel good that everything in there is appropriate.
I love it.
So
that's how like I got into reading with like romantasy when I've always been a reader, but like 13 years old, like we had the whole dystopian blow up era. But what was these books called again? So I can
so Run to the Rescue is a series, and then Crown Duel is my favorite. It's two books in one. The first book is more the romance, the fantasy part of it, and that she's sort of a princess. Her kingdom's been taken over. She's running from a guy who's trying to take over her kingdom. And then the second book, like the second half of the book, is she's now in court. He's now an ally, but she's like trying to navigate court and is getting all these secret letters with information on how to navigate court. And then it gets romantic.
Okay, sold.
Yes.
I also know that you have like a business degree. You worked in the corporate world before you started writing. What did you see for yourself as a career before you started writing? Like, what was your plan?
And still is my plan. I started, like, I went to school for business. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do in school. And so business was like a good one to figure out because there's lots of options. Ended up in marketing, was in marketing for a long time, and ended up kind of moving through my company, doing an MBA, and then getting into sort of the HR strategy side of things. So it was never like my plan growing up was to be a ballerina, and that did not work out. And then, I got into the corporate world and just hit a point where I was like, is this what I do every day until I die? And I like my job. I continue to like my job. I do enjoy working there, but I needed something else and something that was creative, a good outlet. Like, it wasn't going to be ballerina anymore. So I needed something that just got my creativity out. And as I said, I'd always been a reader. I'd love to read. And I thought maybe I'll just try to write a book, see what happens. And then, of course, I wrote, as many do, a YA portal fantasy. Like, I think I tried to recreate that book that I loved so much as a kid, and made all the mistakes in the world. Realized that I wasn't actually super passionate about writing romantasy. I really wanted to write more contemporary romance. And then I knew I could do it at that point. I knew I could write a book, and I was like, you know what? I really want to do this. And so I started learning. I started, at the time it was Twitter, getting into just meeting people, learning what to do next, learning how to write a query letter, where the agents were, how to get an agent. And then just kept at it and at it and at it. And then, and then I published a book.
Will we ever see that first YA portal romance?
It is like, or maybe, you know what? It's so bad that I feel like one day when I'm feeling super confident, I will start publishing things. Just because, like, if you can't laugh, then what's the point?
Exactly. I think, and authors often say, like, you need that first draft. You need that first video. Like, I guess everyone in the creative space, like, you need to rip off the Band-Aid and put something out there, whether or not, like, you're actually putting it out in the world or you're just putting it out there for you. You need that first bad
And just to know, like, I could read it and I could say, you know what, this is what I'm not good at. This is what I am good at. And then the next attempt at a book, like, let's lean into the stuff that I can do well, and let's work on the stuff that I can't do well.
Yeah, for sure. What did the process look like when you were writing that first book? Like, did you know anything about, like, how to format the page or word counts or anything like that?
No, like I do most things, I sort of jumped into it feet first. I was like, I'm writing a book. And then as I got through it, I was like, oh, am I writing it in the right tense? Probably not. And so I switched the tense. And then I got in further and further. And then I learned that, portal fantasies are they don't sell. And everyone tries a portal fantasy. Like, I started reading about how people start to write books and all the mistakes they make. And I'm like, check, 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 check. Like, I did all of them. And I was very stereotypical about how I tackled my first book. And then I said, okay, this is just, it's a learning experience. I don't even think I tried to edit it. I know I didn't try to edit it. I just said, this goes in a box on the internet.
Wow.
I will look at it again someday and laugh.
So you were using Twitter to kind of, like, learn about things. Did you use any other thing to, like, learn how to be an author, how to write a book?
I think I bought one of those dictionary of agents to like where you can look up all the different agents and see what they sell. I took a course. There's a professor in Toronto who does these different writing courses. And I think there was one at the library. And he had Kelly Armstrong there who, like, if you read back in that era, all her vampire books, like, I was very into her. So I went and saw her speak and sort of, she did like a how to get published type day. And then I took the same professor had a course that was just like, it met at a local church basement that was very close to my house. And I went with a bunch of other random writers of all different genres and ages. And we would just write pieces and share with each other and cheer each other on. And that was kind of how I started.
What was your family and friends and, like, close circle reaction when you were like, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to become an author?
Oh, it's funny. So I have a younger sister and a mom, and obviously, and they both are big readers. And I kind of kept it to myself at first, just, to see if I could even do it. I didn't, want to put it out there and then think, oh gosh, come read my terrible book. I wanted to make sure it was in good shape. And I remember being with my mom and sister, and I had said, I'm writing a book. And my sister said, I'm taking a course to write a book. And my mom said, I've always wanted to write a book. So they've all been on kind of the journey with me. And my mom ended up taking a course with that same professor on writing personal stories. My sister continued to take her course on writing books. And so it's been nice. Neither of them have written books, but they've been a good sounding board and like understand the journey a bit better than I think most people have. So it's nice to have two people that are like very invested in reading and the book community.
They get it. Now, did they also attempt to start with portal romances? Does that
I think my sister's was like a dystopian. She was still banging around the ideas at this point, but like she was going to do the same thing. Start with something that's like very millennial girl,
right?
Like, of that, the things we loved kind of in our preteen and teen eras.
Yeah. Do you think maybe why you write magical realism is like stemmed from like this portal of like magical realism being able to like go in a different realm?
I think it's the same reason I'm drawn to romantasy. Like I secretly, like a tiny piece of me always hopes that someday someone will be like, you're a secret princess and you just have never known.
Okay.
And I'm a realist in so many areas of my life, but I think there's always a small part of me that wants to believe that there's like a teeny tiny bit of magic in this universe and we just can't quite understand it yet. So I definitely think it's that same spark and the reason I love to read romantasy that has made me want to write just a little bit of magic into my books.
I mean, I often live with the saying, like, everything happens for a reason. And that's like a little bit of magic in life sometimes.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, this is sometimes out of our control.
Totally.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Did you struggle at all when you were first writing out? Like, did you ever have a moment where you were like, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to quit?
I don't think I've had quit moments yet. I've definitely had moments, and I have them weekly, where I go, this is terrible. Like, do you know how to write? Have you forgotten how to write? Like, what are you doing? And I have a Post-it note up on, I've got a bit of a board that kind of sits in behind my computer that I look up at, and it's a collage of a vision board type of thing. And I've got a Post-it note that just says, so make it better. And I think I have that moment a lot when I write. Like, some chapters work, some chapters don't, some parts work, some don't. And I just have to take the ones that don't and make them better. And I have to sit down. And sometimes it's such a slog to get through them. But you got to just make it better and keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. And, you know, some of the chapters that were just so hard to write and so difficult to get through, I'll come back to them like months later and read them and go, okay, this wasn't as bad as I remember it being.
Is there ever a pattern or things that you see repeating in those chapters where like they don't feel like they're right yet? Like, are they missing something or are they just not clicking?
I think I have problems. So I love it when like they're about to fall in love or they're about to kiss or they're having like banter. Like, those are easy chapters for me to write. Like, if they're about to get together, I can fly through those. I don't like writing logistical chapters or pieces of logisticals. Like, they have to go from A to B. They can't just transport from A to B. Or sometimes there's scenes where I need it for the plot. Like, it's important, but it's not fun. It's maybe hard for the character to get through. Maybe it's just, you know, a not so exciting scene. And sometimes I have to either make it exciting or do something to the scene to make it funny or to make it interesting or to make the minor character that they're having a conversation with interesting, because I'm getting bored writing it. And if I'm getting bored writing it, then a reader's going to get bored reading it.
Mm-hmm. At the time when you were writing, were you still working your corporate job or were you like, had you given?
I am still working my corporate job.
You are right now?
Yes.
No way.
Yes. Yeah, like I'm still
Why?
there.
Do you enjoy it still?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, publishing is really hard. Mm-hmm. Publishing is really hard and really unpredictable. And, you know, you just don't know. And I think I'm getting close. I'm hopefully getting close to saying, like, I'm going to write full time and I would love to write full time. But I also am really good at my corporate job and I go to work every day and everyone tells me I'm wonderful and awesome. And publishing can be the opposite sometimes. And so it's a nice balance to my life. And then publishing can be up and down with contracts. Like, you know, romance was huge right after the pandemic and everyone was buying, and readers were buying. And it's quieted a little bit lately. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it will pick up again. But I'm super, super risk averse. And, I like to know that I can put food on the table and all those other things. And I actually think I'd rather be so busy with trying to write and work and do all these things than have uncertainty in my financial life. And so it's just a trade-off.
Do you have an inkling as to why romance has died down in the last little bit?
I think coming out of the pandemic, everybody was just craving escapism. I remember back when I was in school, we studied what happened after 9/11. And 9/11 was super traumatic. And after 9/11, the surge of reality TV hit. And, part of the reason reality TV became so big, a lot of people think, is that 9/11 just made things so uncertain. And people wanted something with reality TV that was grounded and, a little bit fantastical, but that made things okay. And I think we saw something really similar with romance after the pandemic. People wanted something where they knew a happy ending was coming. It was something where you could pick it up and you could know everything turns out okay in a time where you didn't know if everything was going to turn out okay. And I think readers got into it, and then they've gotten into other things, and then they'll come back to it. It cycles. So yeah, I think I'm hoping people come back to romance very soon.
I think people will always come back to romance, and I think that's well said. And I love romance because it provides escapism.
Totally.
And then I also got into thriller books this year, and I was like, this also provides a bit of escapism.
I love it. I feel like that's what a lot of people have done. I think I read romance, and then I was like, I just need a break from it, and I went to thrillers for the same reason. It's escapism. You sort of know in the end it's going to work out. Yes. The odd time it doesn't, and I get angry because I like it when they got to catch whatever's happening, figure it out. Everything has to be good again. But yeah, I think a lot of people have done that. They've flipped over to thrillers or something else that's a little bit different, and then they'll come back to romance. I read like that too. I go in fits and spurts. I was very into thrillers the last year. And I've come back to romance the last couple of months.
So what are some of your top books that you've read this year then, between the romance and the thriller genre?
Oh, okay. So thriller is, it's got Lie and First Lie Wins. First Lie Wins. I loved First Lie Wins. Mm-hmm. What else did I read? I got really funny, back to Kelly Armstrong again. She has this series that takes place up in the Yukon, and she's got 2 of them, and the last one just came out, and it's it's a group of people. I don't want to ruin too much here. It's a group of people who have built a settlement in the Yukon in the middle of nowhere, and it's a bit of a refuge for people who need to escape because they've been in a situation where something has happened, or they've been abused, or they've been involved in a crime and a witness, and they have to go to this place. And there's it's almost like a cozy mystery thriller. It's not too thrillery, but it takes place in the Yukon, and the characters are all really good. And I got deep into those. I read the entire backlist on that one. Romance wise, I just finished Funny Story by Emily Henry, which I loved.
I love that one.
Which is also the worst thing to read when you're trying to draft your own romance. Oh, she's so good. I read Ellie Palmer's one. It takes place in Minnesota. It's got a camper van on the front. I'm blanking on the name.
Oh, I also know which one you're talking about.
Anywhere with You. There we go.
Thank you, Steph.
So Anywhere with You by Ellie Palmer, I absolutely loved. And I get the great thing about being an author too is I usually get early copies of things to either blurb or just have. And so, yeah, I've read some really good ones this year.
When you are blurbing a book, how does that necessarily work? The author or the publisher is reaching out to you?
Both.
Okay. How do you craft your blurb? I feel like, oh God, I would overthink what I'm going to say.
I overthink
so much.
I jot things down as I'm reading it, funny thoughts, because I'm I gotta be funny, and I also need to tell people what this is about. And sometimes, it'll either come out in 30 seconds and my first thought, and I'm here's the blurb. It's like titling a book. Either I know the title and I'm this is the title, or it will take me months of just being should this be the title or should this be the title?
So which ones did you know the title of, and which ones took a while?
Well, me knowing the title and the title that you see on the book are two different things. This Spells Love was Kiss Me Baby One More Time when I wrote it, which works because she needs to get him to kiss her again. But then my publisher said, I don't think that's going to work. It's a little bit too Britney Spears coded. Her book came out in the month before. We wanted to be a little bit different, and so we went back and forth on a bunch of different names with that one. And I don't think I called it This Spells Love. I think we kind of went back on a bunch of names, and I was like, yeah, I like that. We sort of agreed on that one. Primetime Romance, I could not name to save my life. I just called it Carson's Cove book, which is the fictional town in the book. And then my editor and I made a huge list of things. And I did come up with Primetime Romance, and we had a whole big slew of names to go through. And we both kind of said, okay, that one fits.
Yeah.
Katie St. Clair's Last Dance, I named it, I think before I even wrote the book. I knew that was the title. I knew it from day one. And we actually had discussions on it because I don't think my publisher loved the title name. And I was just like, no, that's it. It's it. And they said, okay, fine, we will go with it. So yeah, that was my title.
I love it. I think it's unique. I think it's very unique. And also I love the book and I've read it and it just fits so well.
Yeah.
So you're still working your corporate job.
You're
writing.
I am.
What does your day-to-day look like then?
My day-to-day is bonkers at all times. I've been up since 4:50 and I've had 3 coffees, which is why if I'm talking too quickly, that is why. So I was up early. I have 2 boys and they both play hockey. So I was at the arena by 6 a.m. until 7:30. And then got home, got changed, got everybody ready and out the door, and then came down here. Normally I'm very, very type A in the way that I write. And so I have a word goal that's usually about 1,000 words every day, Monday to Friday. So 5,000 words a week. And then on the weekends, I tend to go through and clean up and kind of reread and edit as I go, make sure everything's moving along and making sense. So I usually write about 500 words kind of before I start work. Then I'll get through my work day. I'm very lucky in that I work from home. So I used to write on the GO train when I'd come in, and that was where I do my 500 words. So get my words in, and then finish my work day, get my people off to where they need, fed, watered, off to bed, and then another 500 words kind of before I go to bed.
Which is if you're getting up at 4:50, what time are you going to bed at?
Yeah, not a healthy hour.
Okay. Do you have any other type A tendencies when it comes to writing or your life in general?
I mean, I'm disciplined with everything. I'm disciplined with the gym. I'm disciplined with meal planning, everything. Because I just find it all works or it doesn't work for me. I'm either a sloth or I'm going at sort of 100 miles an hour. And if I stick to my schedule and I'm disciplined with everything, I'm functioning and I'm happy. And so that is how I get it all done.
Talk to me about your newest book release, Kitty St. Clair's Last Dance. So we're going to keep it somewhat spoiler free for those who hasn't read it, but a little bit of a deep dive into it. What is this book about? How did it come to be?
So Kitty St. Clair's Last Dance is about a woman named Jules, and she lives in a small lakeside community in and around Lake Huron. And if you're from the area, it's sort of up in that Sauble Beach type area in a fictional town called Westlake. And Jules works at a retirement home, and she has always wanted to be a doctor, but her mother's financial credit has impacted her financial credit, and she just has not been able to make it happen financially. And at the very beginning of the book, she has a sort of hookup one-night stand with a very hot man at a cottage party named Reeve, and they don't speak again. And it's now 2 years later. She's working at her retirement home job, and one of her residents, whose name is Kitty St. Clair, passes away and leaves Jewel an inheritance. And Jules is not sure why, because Kitty was just one of her residents. They weren't particularly close. But she eventually learns that what she has inherited is an old abandoned building. Again, a bit of a mystery. And in trying to figure out why the heck Kitty would have left her anything, she sort of pockets Kitty's diary as she's packing up her things and goes home at night and begins to read about Kitty's life as a teenager. And as she goes to sleep, she's transported back to sort of the late 1940s and learns that the abandoned building that she inherited was once a lakeside dance hall that used to host big bands, and everybody would come, summer residents, people in town, and they'd come and dance on Friday nights. And that was sort of the social center of the town. Then her one-night stand, whose name is Reeve, comes back into town, and he actually is working for a developer, and they want to buy her property. And so as she starts to figure out what her feelings are for her future and what her feelings are for Reeve, she finds that her story starts to parallel Kitty St. Clair's story as it's revealed to her in dreams.
Mm-hmm. Now, did this story come easy to you? When did you originally get the spark to write it?
So funny enough, I had half of the idea before I even wrote This Spells Love. So that's 2 books earlier.
Okay.
I had kind of jotted down a bunch of ideas that I wanted to write. And one of them was about a dance hall type. Woman inherits a building, it's a dance hall, and then the love interest is a developer, and she's torn between turning it back into a dance hall and this developer who wants to turn it into condos. So I had that idea, but it wasn't sparking anything for me. And then it wasn't a magical realism novel. And then I wrote This Spells Love, and I was like, I just want to write magical realism. I love it. And so I came up with the idea of the diary, and the idea that Kitty St. Clair would be this woman who lived in a time where she didn't have a lot of choice, and she had to kind of choose between living the life that she wanted to live, being an uneducated woman from a small town who didn't have any family money or any connections or anything, but wanting a big life, and choosing between that and love, and how that story could parallel my main character's story. So it kind of all came together. My grandmother had a very similar story to Kitty, and that she sort of had to make a very similar choice in her life. And it was something that she talked about later in life with me. And that had always kind of sat in the back of my head. And as I was developing this story, everything kind of came together, and, layer after layer, the story unfolded, and I thought, okay, this is going to work. That was what I was missing with that original idea. It was just this magical element to it and this backstory to it. And so once it came together, I was like, this is the book. This is how it's going to fold out.
Now, did the dance hall idea come from you? Were you a dancer growing up? Because you said you wanted to be a ballerina.
I was. I spent time in Sauble Beach, and all those little tiny towns used to have dance halls, and there was an old building. And, they talk about the dance hall pavilion. And my husband's family has a cottage, and there used to be a dance hall kind of at the end of their property that was burned down. And I just love the idea that that's what people did back then, is there was these dance halls in all these tiny little towns. And on a Friday night, that's what you would do. You'd put on your pretty dress and you'd go to the dance hall and hope to dance with a boy. And, the men would have to buy tickets to have to dance. And so they'd buy these tickets and they'd be like, I got a ticket. You want to dance with me? And they'd be allowed on the dance floor. And it was interesting. And I didn't know a ton. I knew they existed before writing this book. But I did a lot of research into how it worked. And, the dance hall scene in Ontario was huge for music. We brought up some of the biggest acts that from those days, from Chicago and from New York. They came to Southern Ontario to, Lake Huron, which is not you wouldn't think that's a big music scene place, but they were all up there playing. Wow. And it was a bit of a scene back then.
This book is very Canadian, very Toronto. How much of it was personal experience? Did you have to do much research about Toronto as a whole, or?
The Toronto part was easy peasy. I think a lot of my research just came in figuring out what things looked like back in 1949, what was here, what was not, so that when I was writing scenes, was the Royal York Hotel still there? There's that big pavilion down on Lakeshore that you drive past. That was a huge dance pavilion back in the day, and just kind of getting a sense of where people went. A lot of there's a scene in the book where it takes place almost at a social club. like
the Granite
high
Club,
end,
right?
It's the Granite Club. And like, did the Granite Club did it exist back then? Where was it? Like, it was actually in a different spot. It was down on St. Clair. Like, it was doing a little bit of research on that piece of things, because the Toronto scene, I think I was super familiar with, even like Huron. I know, I'm great with the small towns, and I've spent a lot of time up there, and that part was easy, but the history of Toronto back in the 1940s was interesting.
Yeah. And even like the book overall, it was interesting to like be back in time, but then even be in the present tense, where it was like talking about, the Granite Club, who my friends have talked about before, like the young subway line, or even like there's a scene where she's in traffic, which I often experience driving into the city, and I was like, this feels so real. Jules also has this like lifelong dream of going to med school.
Yeah.
And she struggles a lot with it. Where did that come from? Did you ever consider med school? Did a friend, family member?
I did not consider med school. I think the med school piece, like when I was writing Kitty, I had started with the concept of, the dance hall and the dreams and this inheritance. And then the next layer in figuring out Jules was, okay, what would hold you back from achieving your dream? And for her, it was financial. And that piece really worked well. And so having to figure out, okay, what jobs financially would be so tough to do, and like med school is a fortune. Like she could have been a lawyer too, but I think med school worked really well, and it worked well with the idea of a retirement home and why somebody might inherit a building from somebody that they don't necessarily know that well. That's a bit of a mystery. So yeah, if I'm thinking about going to med school, I might work in a retirement home, like if that's just not in the cards for me right now. And so that's kind of how that piece came together. I think with any of my characters, I may not have been in the exact same situation, but you definitely feel angst around choosing your future and trying to figure out, where am I going to go to school? Like, do I move to a city? I didn't grow up in Toronto. I was living, as you said, outside of Toronto, Hamilton. Yeah. Do I move to a brand new city by myself? Like, what does it look like? It's going to be scary. Can I do it? Do I want to do it? So all of those feelings definitely come from past experience, but not so much the med school part. I think I would be a horrible doctor.
No, yeah. I feel like everyone maybe thinks they're going to be a doctor at some point.
I think I did. I thought I might be one until I think I was in grade 11, and I had to pick my grade 12 courses, and it would have been like chemistry, biology, like all those things. And I was like, I don't want to do those courses. And that's when I made the pivot to business.
Where did Jules' love of PBRs come from?
It actually was originally MGD, so Miller Genuine Draft. Okay. And because I love them, because I am from Hamilton. That's just a beer you drink when you're from Hamilton. And I needed a beer that felt the same, that was a bit more recognizable, and that's where PBR came from.
I see. Because my dad will like drink that all the time, and someone said it was like a college beer. Yeah. And I was like, I see my dad drinking it all the time. Like, I don't know.
I feel like it's like a small town beer too, as is MGD, which I love.
For sure.
And it was like, I wrote about PBR with all the love in my heart, but yes.
I thought it was such a like fun, like light sliver of like, just like her love for it. She doesn't like hard liquor because she loses control. Yeah. Or she doesn't like to be out of control.
Yeah.
I loved it. Where did Reeve's name come from?
Oh, gosh. Reeve's name came from a guy that I had a brief one-night stand with.
No way.
Yes. And funny enough, and this was years ago. Let's hope my husband doesn't listen to this podcast. And like, just like a mistake. He was a mistake. And a perfectly fine mistake to make in your 20s. Like, go make that mistake. And it was funny because I was talking about this at an event I did at Hopeless Romantic Books a while ago, and I had this epiphany, and I was like, did I do that subconsciously? I may have done that subconsciously, or I might have just realized I like the name together, but yeah.
Do any of your other books have male characters based on old hookups?
No, I don't think so. I have to think about that. No, they do not. Primetime Romance, Josh was Carson's Cove is a bit of a parody on Dawson's Creek, and then so Josh came from that. Joshua Jackson, because I love Joshua Jackson. That's where he was named from. Dax, I don't know. His name just appeared in my head one day, and I was like, that is his name.
Love it.
Yep.
I saw in an Instagram post that you said that Reeve might be one of your favorite book boyfriends you've
I
created.
think he still is.
Why is that? Like, what about him speaks to you like that?
I think, like, again, my 20s were spent in Toronto. And so I love a Toronto guy. Like, I just...
They're not the same these days, though. I don't know if you...
I love a Toronto guy from 20 years ago. And like a guy in a suit does it for me every time. And I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My husband wore a suit very well. So
can I ask how you met your husband?
I met him at a masquerade. I don't know if you know Motion Ball, but Motion Ball is an organization that supports Special Olympics Canada. And they have these balls once a year where you... Like it's you buy a ticket, all the money goes towards Special Olympics Canada. And I had a girlfriend who was like, hey, my then boyfriend, now husband, she's like, he's bringing all his friends. I'm going to bring all my friends. And so we had a lot of Pim's Cup, which I'd never had before, which was dangerous. Went to this ball and I met my husband along with a bunch of his friends. He's still in my phone as Andrew Motion Ball, which is where I met him. I refuse to change it. But yeah, he was one of the tall ones, and I barely remember the night I met him, but we met. And
you met, and the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Do you have a favorite moment or part of writing this book, or favorite scene?
I love in this book, it's New Year's Eve, and Reeve comes down to Westlake, and it's a bit of a surprise, and they end up going to the Legion, like the Royal Canadian Legion, for the New Year's Eve party, and it's like a very stereotypical small town New Year's Eve party. Like there's coats, kids are asleep on coats under tables and everyone's just got their shoes off and they're just kind of dancing and having a good time. And I love when it gets close to midnight and she's just had a wonderful night with him and they're finally dancing to Celine Dion. And, he's like, I'm going to kiss you. Is that okay? And she says, yes, but like right now I need it to be just a kiss. Like I want it to be more, but it needs to be just a kiss right now. And he says, okay, so then I better make it a good one. Wow. And I love that moment. I loved writing it. It came out just perfectly. And it felt like I wanted it to feel. So that's my favorite scene in the book.
If this is the scene I'm thinking about correctly, there's also a moment where they're like he says like, this is our song and it's playing. Yeah. If you could choose one song to like represent this book as a whole, what would it be?
It's Celine Dion's All Coming Back to Me.
That's actually like, really?
Oh yeah. That one was on repeat as I was listening to this. And it was funny. It kept coming into my life. Like we talk about, fate and signs and things like that. I kept seeing that song and hearing that song. And that's, I think, how it just wound its way into the book. Because I kept coming across it and I was like, this feels right. And this feels good. So
were there any other, like, so you're listening to music while you're writing then? Or
no, I'm not.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
no
I'm
music.
not one of those people that can listen to music. I get way too distracted. I'm a silence girl, but like I'd be on TikTok and then everybody was posting about that song, or I'd be in the car like listening to a radio and then it would come on and it just it just kept popping into my life.
Song.
It is really a great song.
This is a romance and it's very light and fluffy, but I felt like as a reader there was things interwoven in it that are really impactful. What is something that you hope readers take away from the book?
I think you captured exactly what I hope you feel when you read this. Like all of my books are meant to be joyous. Like they're not high angst. I'm not a Colleen Hoover. It's you read it, they're fast reads, they're light, they're fun, they're fluffy. But they're also real people. Like I hope my characters feel real. So it's not just like, a main character with problems that nobody relates to. I love it when readers are like, I was going through this specific thing and I read this book and this person was going through the same thing and it felt like you spoke to me and where my situation was at. So I hope, despite the fact that there's magic and, the book feels fun and easy, that people really relate to the characters and sort of take away inspiration about something that maybe they're going through.
Yeah. I read this book. I got an arc of it. So I read it, I think like early September. And the amount of people I have recommended it to is endless because I'm like, a lot of my friends they're going through the med school process. They're studying for the MCAT. And I was like, this is such a good, it's not a self-help book telling you like what to do with your life. It's giving you, and I have shouted this from the rooftops, but it's giving you a fictional character that is going through the same thing as you.
Yeah.
And they're figuring it out as they go.
Yeah. And I found that as well with This Spells Love. Gemma, the main character, is like, she's debating what she wants to do with her life, and she's like very stuck. Like she wants to start this business, but she hasn't in her actual life, and in this parallel universe life she has. And so, you know, she's in her 20s and just kind of starting out in life and going, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm afraid to do things. You know, I'm thinking I need to take the safe route, but like my heart is really wanting me to take a risk here. And I've gotten so many readers reach out and just say like, I've been going through that and I feel that too. And I think that's the hugest compliment when you read a book and someone says, I understand this character. They feel real. They feel like myself a little bit.
Yeah. I love romance, but I love a romance that's making me feel something. Yeah. That's making me connect to some fictional character regardless. This book was also on Book of the Month as an add-on.
It is.
This month. What can you say about that? Like, how does that work for you as an author to have your book as a Book of the Month add-on?
It's, you know what? This is a great question to ask me in a few months from now because it's a big black hole right now. Like I know it's on Book of the Month as an add-on. I have no idea how it's selling. I have no idea. Like the only gauge I have is that I see people post. And I think a lot of people, I think Book of the Month Club does have a lot of romance readers. And, you know, I've seen my book paired with Claire Gilmore's book, which is also the Book of the Month pick. So what I hope it does, I feel like the Book of the Month Club has a very different type of reader that maybe doesn't necessarily spend a lot of time on Bookstagram or TikTok.
Fair, yeah.
Like, you know, they like a really curated list. They maybe don't have time or just want somebody else to recommend what they should be reading. And they're great, like kind of picking from a narrowed list. So I think it gives you access to some readers that maybe don't spend a lot of time on social media looking at books and reading about books and talking about books. And then they also have book clubs. Like I have found, because This Spells Love was one of the picks, that a lot of people would buy it as part of their Book of the Month Club, and then they'd recommend it to a friend. And that's such a huge compliment, and that really helps a book. Like, you know, you're only a new book for a couple of weeks. Like you're at the front of the bookstore for a very short period of time. But if people are reading your book and then talking to a friend or saying, oh my gosh, you got to go read this, or like get it out from the library, go get it. That really allows a book to have sort of a longer life. And I think I definitely saw that with This Spells Love, and I'm hoping the same thing will happen with Kitty.
I have a little game for you called Rom-Com Court, where I'm going to give you like some iconic moments, tropes from, I know you love a rom-com, but from 90s and 2000s romantic comedies.
Okay.
And you're going to tell me whether it's ick or iconic.
Okay.
And like why.
Okay.
Like the grand gesture, the airport chase when they're like running through security in slow motion, yelling like, don't go. Ick or iconic?
I say iconic.
Okay.
Like not realistic.
Right.
No one's getting through airport security, but I love that idea.
Okay, next one. The makeover montage when she takes off her glasses and suddenly everyone notices her.
I know it's problematic and I love it. I know it's problematic, but I love it. I don't know if you can grow up in the 90s and not love a makeover.
I know. What are your favorite, like, I guess, which ones had it?
She's All That.
Oh, that's the main one I'm thinking of. That's probably the...
Except she's beautiful. Like, she's beautiful. So yeah. Like, come on now. And yeah, I'm trying to think of what the other ones are. The Princess Diaries.
You've given really good examples where I'm like, this is also kind of iconic.
I know.
But Anne Hathaway is also stunning. They just like put her in very curly hair and the worst glasses you could give someone.
I know. I mean, it's a Cinderella thing, right? Like I think every little girl at one point loves Cinderella, or maybe not everyone, but a lot of little girls love Cinderella. And it's just the idea of like, you know, beautiful dress, like pumpkin turns into I don't know why. My brain goes, this is wrong. Like, everyone's beautiful. But I love it. I love it
anyways. Okay. Enemies to lovers in the workplace. Is it fun tension or an HR nightmare?
Oh my gosh, I work in HR too. But I also used to date everybody. Like,
no, really?
It happens.
I know. You're in close quarters.
And honestly, some of my favorite books, like, I love The Hating Game.
Oh,
like,
same.
I love The
That's
Hating
such
Game.
a good book.
I think you need to do it really well. Like, I think actually the bar has been set so high on workplace romance that there's got to be like some real tension there. And I'm trying to think of another example. Like, I could see that one being ick if it's not done well.
Yes. I don't love it when there's like a super big like power dynamic.
I don't love the power dynamic either.
I like a coworker.
Except if we're talking like rom-coms, the one I do love is the one with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, where it's like the reversal.
And I don't love that one. I don't know why. It just doesn't click in my brain. I mean, it's great. It's not one of my favorites, but that is a good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the reason why it's okay in my books is because she's the one. Yes. And like, come on now, we've got enough history that maybe we can reverse it a few times. But
okay, the fake dating contract, they like sign a fake relationship agreement and somehow it turns out real.
I also love it.
Okay.
I love it.
I think the bar has been set high on fake dating.
Oh, absolutely.
These days. I have to believe that they have some genuine reason to fake date and they're not just doing this to like eventually get together.
Yeah. And I'm also, as I said earlier, just coming off reading Funny Story by Emily Henry, which is a fake dating trope. And it's so believable why they did it. And I just, the whole time I was like, this is so
it
well
made sense.
done. Yeah. I can't think too heavily about it.
Yeah.
I just have to go with it.
Yeah. Fake Skating by Lynn Painter is another. That's a YA fake date, which is, it's also tough because like, why are these young adults needing to fake date when they're in high school or like, I think maybe like first year uni, but that one was also really, really good.
Oh my gosh.
So
There's also a book. Elle Kennedy wrote one with a different pen name. I'm going to butcher it because I can't remember the book's name and I can't remember her other pen name. And she wrote this YA one, and it's essentially like a Justin Bieber has to fake date a random non-celeb girl, because they're teens, to get back his reputation, because it's basically post him and Selena's breakup, and Selena's still obsessed with him, and he's like, they were sort of put together by their PR teams, and she fell in love with him and he didn't fall in love with her. But oh my God, it's so good.
Wait,
When It's Real. But I love that book.
I love Elle Kennedy, Aaron Watt, the Paper Princess series.
I love it.
That's my guilty pleasure series. I love that series.
I read When It's Real by Aaron Watt, not knowing it was Elle Kennedy. Yeah. And I also, I read, I think, all of the original, series, Elle Kennedy. And so I was obsessed with her and all her hockey romances. And then I read that. And then I found out they were the same thing. And I was like, that tracks. That tracks.
Sense.
Yeah.
Okay. The standing in the rain kissing.
I still love it. I love everything. I just love romance.
I don't know if I can recall a book where they had a rain kiss, but I'm thinking of Vampire Diaries, Damon and Elena kissing in the rain.
So when I was way too young to be watching soap operas, my babysitter watched Days of Our Lives, way, way back when I was a small child. And they were soap operas are just
there's something else.
They kiss in the rain. And that was when I was a kid, that was my idea of what true romance was.
Okay.
It's a thunderstorm and you are kissing, because that, that's true love.
Amazing. Well, I got one more for you. The One That Got Away. Childhood friends, second chance.
Okay. I can't find any of these ick because I think I love all of them. I do. I love, there is something special about somebody that, especially when it's your first love. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot, I think that's a very realistic thing, that people fall in love with their first love, and that's their person. They're not thinking about their futures. They're not thinking about logistics. They just are in love with this person and this person's soul. And it's it's it for them. And then life gets in the way, because oftentimes you're 20 or you're 22 or you're 18 and you both want to go to school in different areas, or you've got different ideas about what you want from marriage or children or your career, or somebody's got a career that's taking them this way. And there's a lot of life that happens, I think, in your early 20s, and you have to do it on one hand to grow as a person. But that love is so special that it never really dies. And I can see why that's a really authentic trope, that that person comes back into your life and it just completely turns things upside down.
It changes you. Yeah. Okay, so we found all of these iconic, which I mean, I gotta say I do too. What is a scene or a trope or a moment that you don't like?
That I find icky?
Yeah.
I don't love embarrassing acts of I don't like embarrassing acts where they try to earn the other person back by like singing or like doing something big in public. I'm not a big in public shower of affection.
Me too.
Like getting proposed to on a Jumbotron is my nightmare. And so anything that I think runs along those veins of like, it's public, it puts pressure on things. Like, I don't love that. The only exception to the rule is when Heath Ledger does the...
I was just going to say, in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh my God, I love that. And he pulls it off in a way where I will take it all back.
And she takes it in. Like, she's not embarrassed. She's kind of like, okay, maybe I do like it.
And I think maybe that's the one way it does work, is when it works for the love interest that is receiving it. Because otherwise, that's a big ick.
No proposals at Disney. Like, no. I so respect it, and I watched it happen one time, and I was like, "Oh my God, so cute! Please never."
Yeah, not my thing. Like, anything.
Because what if you say no?
I know.
I mean, you would have to say yes in the moment to like get through it.
Yes, of course.
You're right. A Jumbotron is also
not my thing.
Not my thing. Not at all.
Nope.
Can you talk about what's coming next?
I have a book coming out next fall. I don't know the date yet. I'm going to tell you the title in the hopes that they can't change it on me if I say it publicly, and because I love it.
Got it.
It's called Solar Eclipse of the Heart.
Okay.
It starts and ends with a solar eclipse, so it's aptly named. And it takes place, funny enough, just down on Queen Street. That's where my main character lives. She is a neuroscientist.
Everything about this book so far, astronomy and neuroscience, I'm sold. Okay. I'm done.
You're just you wait.
Okay.
So she's a neuroscientist. Very practical, very science is the answer. Science explains everything. And she has been, she's alone in the world. Her guardian uncle who lived with her, she's in her 20s, but her guardian uncle who kind of raised her through her teens has passed away about a year ago. And she's sort of okay with being alone in the world. She's going to be moving overseas to do her PhD. So she doesn't really have a lot of people in her life. And she goes into a thrift store that she lives above and tries on a leather jacket. And all of a sudden she is in the Blur-Young subway station. And everything is happening around her and nobody can see her or interact with her. And all of a sudden her uncle shows up and he can't see her, can't interact with her, and she follows him and realizes that she's witnessing a memory that he had that she had only heard about, but she's seeing it firsthand. Then all of a sudden she's zapped back into reality. She's back in the thrift store going, what the heck just happened to me? Then she is getting a new roommate because he's going to be subletting her place when she moves overseas. And this new roommate is from Westlake. Okay. He has moved down because he is a musician and songwriter, and he's got a job in a dive band that plays at the Gladstone. And so he's moving down to kind of see if he can take his music career and make it take off a little bit. And he is like, I love astronomy. I love astrological signs. I believe in fate and Santa Claus. Like he's the most whimsical, golden retriever, and he believes in all those things. And there's something bigger in this world than we don't understand. And she's like, science. And so, she's the one who's got all these things happening to her every time she puts this leather jacket on. And so that's kind of the conflict in the book as they sort of start to fall in love. They're completely different. And the jacket begins to show her things that ultimately help her figure out her life.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Yeah.
That's everything I would ever want in a book.
well,
Damn.
next fall. Next fall.
Okay, and I'll call you early for an arc.
I can do that. Solar eclipse of the heart. Now they can't change it on me. So
who is that from a song?
It's solar eclipse of the wait.
Solar eclipse.
Total eclipse.
That's what it is.
Total eclipse. I was like, I didn't steal the song. Total eclipse of the heart.
But it did ring a slight bell.
Yeah. Total eclipse of the heart is the song, and solar eclipse of the heart is why it's funny, because it's a solar eclipse.
That's so exciting. Yeah. Congratulations on the release, Book of the Month add-on in this upcoming release.
Thank you.
I hope you get some more sleep, and I hope you can relax this weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you
I'll
so
have
much.
a little bit of mulled wine, and I'm sure I'll sleep just fine.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for listening to Off the Shelf, and we will see you next Thursday.